The doctor pushed a 14-year-old to be medically independent from their parents. I wonder why. What is this?
I need to rant about something, and it might ruffle some feathers. If you live in Washington State, this is a PSA for you.
Okay.
I took my daughter to her well-child checkup. She's 14 years old.
Yeah.
The doctor kicked me out of the room. And at first I'm like, okay, maybe they'll talk to her about some things that might be uncomfortable to say in front of mom. Like, I can respect that.
Yeah,
the
sure.
only thing the doctor said is there anything you need to tell me? Is there anything that you want to say?
Uh-huh.
Like, kind of pressuring her to say something.
Yeah,
my
yeah,
daughter
sure.
proceeded to be like, no, I don't need to say anything to you. Bring my mom back into the room, please. Stay with me for a minute, because I know
Yeah.
there is a time and place for that. For some kids, they do need to speak without parents in the room, and I respect that.
Okay.
That's not why I'm mad. Did you know that now that she is 14, I no longer have access to her medical records and her documents?
What? What the hell? How can you be responsible then? That can't be legal? Yeah, how does that happen? That's insane.
So I don't obviously know the specifics of this woman and her child's situation. I don't know. She's in Washington State. I have no idea about how the medical arrangement works with parent and child and record keeping and patient doctor confidentiality. I have no idea about the details of this. I don't know how much of it is blown out of proportion. I don't know how much of it is true and reasonable. I don't know the details of this at all. But generally, the theme of what this is about is very interesting. It's basically taking a parent and a child and slowly separating them. And what separates them? The state. So let's continue.
They removed her from my chart. Let that sink in for a second. She's 14.
Oh, for anybody who doesn't know, My Chart is it's kind of like a place where you can access your medical records on the internet.
Not 18. She is a minor. She can make a doctor's appointment, request medication, schedule procedures without my consent, without my knowledge. They will not notify me as the parent.
Wow.
This is where it gets tricky. It's my insurance. It's my money paying for her visit, my money paying for her prescriptions, and my car that drives her there. She is a child. I wasn't even allowed to have access to the forms discussing the visit that she had, the one that I was in the room for.
That's insane, man. Yeah, that is fucking crazy. You can't even drive? Yeah, I mean, Washington State's a shit show. I mean, yeah, you gotta, how the fuck does something like this even happen? That's crazy. Trying to piss people off? Yeah, it sounds fake. No, I believe it.
And then when she mentioned that she wanted something to help regulate her acne, they tried to push her to start birth control. I was like, absolutely not. All we need is like a topical or maybe an oral pill to help clear up her face. The doctor then turned to my daughter and said, you can do your research. You have that choice. You can make an appointment to come see me behind your mom's back, and I will get that birth control for you.
What the fuck?
And my daughter's like, okay, thank you, but I don't want that. I don't understand why
What the hell?
you couldn't just say, okay, you have a skin issue. Let me get you a prescription for like a topical cream that will help clear it up, like a spot treatment. Also, if I don't have access to her records, how am I supposed to pay for her bills?
And how are you supposed to take care of her? If she has an issue or a problem going on and you don't have access to knowing what that is, then aren't you putting the kid at danger? Because if there's something that like a parent needs to know about their child's medical condition and it's not being communicated to the parent, and then the parent unwillingly or unknowingly does something to, make that condition worse or do something that shouldn't happen, like how is this even this is crazy. What the fuck is going on? Birth control for 14-year-old? Birth control is one of the only things that I think kids should be able to get without parental permission. Hot take, teens are just going to have sex with each other anyway. I don't think birth control is that big of a deal either, but I mean, it really should be. I don't think that a doctor should ever make a decision for a kid, for a kid without the parent's consent. And the thing is that there are instances, that's actually not true. There are instances where it would make sense, but the instances where it would make sense, I would say you should also, of course, take away their parental rights. Like if basically the state and the medical people are making decisions for your kid without your consent, then how are you in any way, shape, or form qualified or competent enough to take care of the kid in the first place? It just makes sense, right? So if you have this big issue where it's like, oh yeah, you could be like an abuser to your kid. Why do you even have the kid in the first place?
Well, okay, that is probably one of the examples that I think everybody here can agree with. If it's found or suspected that the child is being abused by the parent or caretaker, then yes, that is one of the instances where I believe the state or some child advocacy organization should step in on behalf of the child to defend them, to prevent them from being abused or, dealing with further abuse. So I agree with that. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, we would have hyperlocal communities where we would be looking out for one another and to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't even happen. Oh, there's a creepy uncle, or the father is, always drunk and leering at his daughter. I mean, that's something that a small, tight-knit community would be able to keep their eyes on and say, hey, wait, this behavior is kind of weird. So that's what I would advocate for. That's the future. Decades from now, maybe centuries from now, that's what our world might look more like. But in the meantime, what's happening, the collapse of the nuclear family in cases where it is collapsing, what is there to mitigate the negative effects that will impact a child? Unfortunately, it's the state. And I mean, for better or worse. The problem with this instance is that we are watching, like I said, the totalitarian Tiptoe moves at such a slow, incremental pace. We live these relative short lives, let's say 100 years. And so if, you are a parent of, a young adult from like 10 to 20, that's a key window of which the child rearing is going to be very important. But also that is the stage of life where school and the medical industry will actually come in and possibly exert control or manipulation of the child over their own family. And that is what I'm looking at. And that is what I'm saying is so creepy about this particular instance. We have an example here of the medical industry trying to advocate for the child. And in a way, just to give a nuanced perspective, sort of the devil's advocate. It's like, in a way, we do want young adults to be able to exercise more and more control over their own lives, to become more and more independent. But the last thing that we want is for this state to become the surrogate parent. I mean, in a world where there are, I don't know if it's a majority, but there's such a large number of single parent households. And then what's going to happen? Well, again, the state is going to be leaned on more and more by these single parent households for support. And so this is a very dark and dangerous precedent. Again, there's good things that happen, but where we should be mindful that the state is not our friend. It's not our ally. It says it is, but what is happening here is this tiny little movement is being made. It kind of doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but to those who are paying attention, it is. And Asmund's pointing that out, like, hey, what's going on here? As is this woman in the video, like, what's going on here? And this should set off alarm bells to everybody, because this is a tiny little step in the wrong direction, in the direction of the state becoming like a surrogate parent to children. And this is sort of outlined in Brave New World, where, children look up to the systems of power as a surrogate parent, and they listen to authority from on high as opposed to a parent. And so how this will manifest is that these children growing up with, a small amount of intervention from the state or medical institution, is that becomes normalized to them. And they think, okay, that's fine. And so when they have children, then they're already primed to accept that the state or a larger institution can come in and sort of co-parent and actually have more and more say in how the child is raised. And over time, over multiple generations, like, forget it. We're done. Because people will have been programmed to say, well, we'll just procreate, we'll have a child, but like the one who will really raise the children will be the state. And if that is the direction that this is heading in, and I believe that this is a pretty clear example of, again, how it starts, it never looks dramatic. It never looks draconian. It's small. It's very detailed like this. And to those who are like, oh, it's not a problem, maybe not. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not a problem. But then those are the people who are most susceptible to having their children kind of co-opted by this larger demonic system that we call our government. So anyway, just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.